If you ask me, there's one game mechanic that rises above the rest. Random number generation is key for creating unpredictability and variation. Practically every game uses it in some way. Even my game uses it in a bunch of different places, like when a room layout is created, or when enemies and obstacles are spawned in, or even when a selection of relic cards are displayed when you open a chest. All of it is essentially random chance. RNG can benefit your game in a variety of different ways. It's useful for extending the life of a game by offering different experiences every time a new session is started, or by introducing unpredictability, which can lead to unexpected gameplay moments, or even by increasing the skill level of players by learning to mitigate bad luck and adapting to unforeseen situations. But I'm not here to talk about RNG. I'm actually here to talk about my other favorite hobby, gambling. One of the oldest forms of entertainment. The anticipation of beating the odds and potentially winning big is irresistible to most, which can cause potential addiction problems, but I'm not going to get into that because we're not talking about gambling with money in this video. Now you might be wondering why I'm talking about this. Well, I've been developing this turn-based frog-like dungeon crawler during my free time for a little over a year now, and today I decided to do a bit of a different type of video. Instead of rambling on about everything that I've worked on since the last devlog, I'm going to focus on one main feature that I've been developing, and I'll walk through the process of me implementing it. So that being said, this devlog is going to cover the development of something that I'm calling the Transmutation Shrine. And if you missed the last devlog, there is now a new version of the Dungeon Croaker demo available. So if you're interested in that, head over to the Steam page and see if you can beat any of the insane times that are currently on the leaderboard. Okay, so before we get started, I need to explain what I'm planning on this Transmutation Shrine actually doing. Well, as the name says, transmutation is the action of changing or the state of being changed into another form. So what this shrine is going to do is, and this is where the gambling aspect comes back into play, essentially it's going to randomly convert one of your currently equipped relics into another random relic at the cost of some of your essence. So the main benefit for the player is, let's say you start collecting some relics and maybe you're getting very unlucky with what you're finding inside of the chests. This shrine will give you a chance to convert these stinky old relics into something potentially beneficial to your run. But before we get started, I need to come clean about something. So I live in a state of organized chaos most of the time. If you feel the same way, you might also benefit like I did from today's sponsor, ClickUp. Last month, when I was working on finishing the new version of the Dungeon Croaker demo, this is how I was tracking all the changes that I worked on. I was just dumping everything that I did into this Google Doc so I didn't forget anything. And speaking from experience, I really don't recommend doing this as I lost track of a bunch of the changes that I made. Look, if you're like me, then you want to make the best game you can. And that won't happen if you aren't organized. There are a lot of moving parts when it comes to game development. You need to plan features, develop them, create assets, test for bugs, the list goes on. ClickUp gives you all the tools you need to stay productive and organized while working on your project. Personally, I really like using the board view because it's easy to visualize the current status of whatever task I'm working on while seeing the overall state of the project. Another cool feature that ClickUp offers is task time tracking. With this, it's easy to tell how long you've been stuck trying to fix a pesky bug, or how much time you've wasted redrawing the same sprite over and over again like I do. Let ClickUp help you get more done than 99% of people. You can get started today completely for free using my link in the description. Okay, so first things first, as any good game dev will tell you, you always start with the art first. That way you have the vibe down. So I'm going to use this statue from the rest floor as a base for this shrine. When I was thinking about what this statue could look like, I was thinking either a slot machine or a giant thing of dice. And I think I'm going to go with the dice idea because maybe I can use the slot machine for something else. Okay, so after a bunch of revisions, this is what I ended up with. In some of the clips coming up, the statue looks slightly different because I started doing some of the development work while I was still finishing the sprite. Anyways, I decided to go with a shiny gold base because it looked fancy, and I'm also deciding just now that I'm going to split the top and bottom part of the shrine into two separate sprites, so that way the top part can be floating separately from the base. Alrighty, so inside of Unity, I'm going to create a duplicate of an existing statue that I'm already using. That way everything is already set up and I just need to replace the sprite. And the nice thing about this is a couple months ago I already set up a manager script that can spawn in special objects just like this one. So I just need to create a new list entry here, attach the Transmutation Shrine prefab to it, and give it a spawn chance value. For now, I'm just going to set this to be 100 for testing. And there we go, the transmutation shrine has spawned into the random tile inside the room. Now I just need to create a UI screen that will open when I click on the shrine. I forgot to record myself putting this UI together, but it's pretty similar to the relic selection screen in terms of layout. I also drew out this transmutation circle that just overlays behind everything. I don't know why I decided to include that in the script because it's not important, or why I'm even talking about it right now. Anyway, so as you can see, there is a face down relic card at the bottom of the UI. The current plan is that once the player clicks the transmute random relic button, the card will be flipped over to display which relic is about to be changed. It's important to note that this only happens once the button has been clicked because I don't want the player knowing which relic is about to be removed. It will then flip over to hide the process of the relic being swapped, and then it will flip over again to reveal the new relic. Alright, so now it's time for the actually complicated part. I've started working on this script that triggers when the button is pressed inside of the transmute UI. Essentially what is happening is that it accesses the relic list that's attached to the player and selects a relic at a random index. That relic is then removed, then we access the list of available relics and select another relic from a random index from that list and add it to the player's list. So here you can see me clicking on the shrine to open the UI. I then click on the transmute button and you can see down in the console it prints out which relic is being removed and which relic is being added. I've also started working on the display animation so it shows which card is being removed in the actual UI now. And after working on this for a little longer, you can now more or less see the full process. I can go select a relic from the chest, go to the transmutation shrine, and see that the Jewel of the Pond relic has been changed into a vial of blood instead, which is actually a pretty good deal. Now I need to go through the annoying ordeal of making this process actually look interesting inside of the UI. And this is quite tedious and I don't really like doing it because it's a lot of back and forth trying to get the card animations and timing correct with the relics being swapped. And after all of that, it looks like this. The random equipped relic is shown and then flipped over. The card is then flipped over to display the new relic. This still isn't 100% done, but it could at least now be considered an MVP. And then I also needed to code in some edge case scenarios, like disabling the process if you don't have any relics or if you don't have the minimum amount of essence required, and also disabling both of the buttons while the relic swap is currently happening. It was at this point where I decided to change how I planned for this to work. Originally, I was going to restrict this shrine to be a one-time use sort of thing, but after thinking about it, I've decided it will have unlimited uses, because if the player has that much excess essence to spend, I don't see why I wouldn't be okay with them wasting it here. And here's what the final process looks like with animations and sound effects. The main change there is after the transmutation process is complete, I need the UI to revert back to its original state in case the player wants to try again. And yeah, that is the full implementation of the transmutation shrine. This is by no means a guide in any sort of way, this is just a more focused, almost mini devlog of what I've been working on. Let me know what you guys think of this type of video. Do you prefer the larger long-form devlogs that I normally do, or a more focused devlog like this one? Also, let me know if you think I should push this change into the demo build of the game. I haven't done that yet because I'm sort of hesitating right now. I don't want to alter the demo build in any major way that may negatively affect the current leaderboard times. And what I mean by that is, if I push a change that makes the game significantly easier than what it currently is, it wouldn't be fair to the people who have a good leaderboard time already. Hopefully that made sense. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the devlog, and I'll see you in the next one. Also, go give the demo a try and wishlist Dungeon Croaker on Steam.